Okay, well, we're going to do a little bit of a different video today. As you can see, I have 4 pistols laid out. They are all striker fired, 9mm pistols, polymer framed. So, we're going to do a little bit of comparison between these different pistols. First, we have a Glock 19 in Generation 4, a Smith & Wesson M&P full size, H&K VP9, and a 6-hour P320. Now, I'm going to break this video up into 2 parts. First part's going to focus on the controls and the ergonomics, and the second video will be trigger, the sights, and final thoughts and general thoughts about the platforms. Before we get started, all of these pistols have been safety checked. It is difficult to do safety checks on video, let alone to do 4 of them. So rest assured, I have done safety checks on all 4 of these pistols. I just will not be doing it on camera. Now, to start off with, we'll start with the Glock. Probably one of the most popular pistols in the United States, if not the most popular pistol in the United States. I picked this up in a trade. It was very lightly used, and I traded a AR upper for it. And so that's what got me finally into trying Glocks, because I always hated the way Glocks felt, especially the Gen 3s. They never appealed to me. They just felt clunky in the hand, too big. I just hated the way they felt. And then the Gen 4 came out, and while it improved the way things felt, it wasn't like a total revelation in the ergonomics. So I was less down on them, but just not really particularly interested with so many other options. But then when I had the chance to get into one of these for really easily without really spending any money, I'm like, well, why not? So I have now found that while I'm still not 100% thrilled with the ergonomics, I do shoot Glocks really well. They're very accurate, and I can shoot them very accurately, and the recoil management's nice. And if I was told I can only ever have a Glock and I had to get rid of everything else, well, I would be complaining about all that, but I couldn't feel too bad about what I had to use, because you'll be getting a good pistol that is reliable and well made. So, on to ergonomics. Why I don't really 100% like them, but we'll start off with the finger grooves. I'm not a fan of finger grooves, because rarely do finger grooves fit your hand. And on the Glock 19, they're just a little too narrow. I do find that the Glock 17 has a wider grooves between the finger grooves. The spacing is wider, and the fact that the grip is a little longer as well, I find it more comfortable. But I was able to improve the feel of my Glock 19 here by doing a very common mod of undercutting the trigger guard and relieving some material here. Where before, my pinky wanted to hang about halfway off the trigger, or off the bottom of the grip, and the finger grooves wanted to push into my part of my finger. Now they raise up and they're much more centered into the grooves, but they are just a little bit narrower than I like still. But they are at least centered in the grooves now, and it's much more comfortable than it used to be. My pinky is also mostly on the grip now, where before it wanted to hang off by at least half. So that was an improvement, and I still feel that the 17 is better. But 19 tends to be the more popular due to its medium size being suitable for range use, home defense use, and still of a size that you can conceal well enough. So that's one reason why a lot of people own these, and I can see the appeal. It's not a bad pistol in the least. Just it might not fit everybody ergonomically. As far as the controls, the magazine release is improved over the Gen 3. It's bigger. I find it easier to use. The Gen 3 felt like it was tiny and very difficult to push. This feels much easier to use. The slide stop, I use it as a slide stop, not a slide release. If you wish to use it as a slide release, then how it feels will be a bit more important to you. It's low profile, very low profile in fact, and there's not a whole lot of texture on it for a grip, but it's basically just a piece of stamped steel that is bent at a 90-degree angle, and it sticks out from the side here that there's a ledge that you can get a hold of very well to use it. And they also make an extended version that comes out just a little farther back and has a more pronounced ledge to it to make it easier to use. So that option is available to you. It's I can reach it just barely enough to use it without adjusting my grip, but I cannot hit the mag release without adjusting my grip. But I find that with the shape of my hands and the size of my hands, every pistol that fires at least a 380 or more, that I cannot hit magazine releases without adjusting my grip at all. Maybe some small mouse guns I can, but nothing else. So I don't see having to adjust my grip as a bad thing. It's just something I have to do. So if I told myself I had to have a mag release that I had to be able to hit without adjusting my grip, there's not any pistols that I would find suitable that I can do that with. So, if you can't, don't automatically look at that as a bad thing, because sometimes you're not going to be built to do it for any pistol. As far as ambidextrous features go, the magazine release can be swapped to the other side for left-handed use, but the slide stop is not ambidextrous. It exists only on the one side, and there's no provision to get one on this other side. Something else, the cocking serrations. Some people feel the slide on a Glock is very slippery, and I understand why. It's feels very slick to the touch. It's got a texture to the metal that might be why it reduces surface friction. But well, I don't have a problem with getting a hold of it and racking it. Some people might, and if you have sweaty hands, you might. The cocking serrations are very narrow and very shallow, so you're not getting, the meat of your fingers can't really get down into them as easy, and the corners feel kind of rounded and not very crisp. So while I have no problems, like I said, I can get a hold of them, I can see why some people would have problems with this, especially if they have limited hand strength. One thing I think I need to point out is the takedown on a Glock. One of the very first steps is to pull the trigger. And this has led people to who've gotten complacent with their gun handling to forget to unload and pull the trigger and discharge a round. And that is obviously a very bad thing. So you must always be mindful that you must remove your magazine, check the chamber before you disassemble your Glock. After you've done that, then you can go ahead, pull your trigger, and then proceed with the takedown. So, keep that in mind. Disassembly is very easy, by the way. As I said, after you pull the trigger, slight tug to the rear on the slide, just a little bit. Pull down the little tabs, the takedown tabs, and the slide comes off. And then it's a fairly standard semi-auto takedown The recoil spring lifts out, the barrel lifts out, and then you have access to the areas that need cleaned and lubricated. Now, on to, we'll do the M&P. M&P, being a full size, has a longer grip, so I don't hang off. It has no finger grooves, which I really like. The texturing, some people think is too smooth, but I don't have a problem with that. I think I get a good grip on it. By the way, the texturing on the Gen 4 Glocks is very nice. Aggressive enough to get a good grip, not so aggressive to be grating or abrasive or painful after long shooting sessions. The Gen 3 Glocks tends to be a bit smoother, so some people have issues with that. There are aftermarket grip options that is basically like skateboard tape, sandpapery or very rubbery, just to increase grip, and they're not expensive, so keep that in mind. For the mag release, it is very easy to use on an M&P. Very smooth, very positive, and I like it a lot. It's a nice little, it's a nice magazine release. But it's hard to mess up a magazine release. The slide stop is low profile, but it does have a lot of groove to it for grip, and it has a slight ledge to it to allow you to get it, hold of it good. It's a little farther forward than on the Glock, so I really can't use it without adjusting my grip. It is ambidextrous. It exists on both sides of the weapon. The magazine release can be swapped to the other side as well for ambidextrous use. So if you're left-handed, this is a very good option. If you're safety conscious or the type who, just have to have an external safety. Some people don't feel comfortable with that one. The M&P is currently the only one that offers the option to have an external safety for a striker fired type pistol. The Sig 320, I believe, is supposed to get that option, but currently does not have that option. The Smith & Wesson does. You can get it from the factory that way, or you can get little kits to add it to a gun that does not have it. So if you can't find one that has a safety locally, you could still pick one up and then put the kit in. The beaver tail on the M&Ps is more pronounced than the Glocks, and I like this for a good high grip. I like that a lot. And the serrations, they're a different style. They're more scalloped, but they are very grippy. I get a good grip on this thing very well. They're not overly abrasive, but they do allow for a good grip. Now, on to the 320 next. The 320 has also ambidextrous. You can swap the magazine release. It's very easy to get to, very positive locking. The button's large, easy to get to. The slide stop has a little bit of a ledge and some grooves to it for grip. It's also farther to the rear, so it's one that I can actually get to without adjusting my grip. And ambidextrous because it exists on both sides of the pistol. Now, VP9. This one also is ambidextrous for the slide stop. This got a bit of a ledge and grooves. Despite the low profile, you can get to it, and it exists on the other side, but exists as an entire lever on this side of the pistol. And I actually think this one is a little easier to get to because it's a little bit more pronounced and a little bit better grooving for grip. But it's usable both sides. And the cocking serrations on this are very wide and deep with very pronounced corners for a very good grip. I must mention, since I forgot to mention, They are also very well done on the Sig. They're not quite as wide, but they're very deep with very pronounced corners for a good grip. But one thing the VP9 has that the others do not is they have these little polymer tabs that stick out the side that help you get a good grip. So if your hands are slippery, sweaty, for some reason, you can still get a good grip. And if you're someone who has difficulty racking the slides of other pistols because you don't have the finger strength, you can really get a hold of this a lot easier. So this is a really good feature for people who have lower finger strength. If you do not like these, you can remove them. But know that there is slots cut right here where they fit. So you will have these little slots in the side of the pistol. If that bothers you, there are flush fitting inserts that you can get from H&K. So it will bring back the smooth look to the rear of the pistol and also have the tabs removed. So keep that in mind. Now we come to my favorite part of the H&K, the magazine release. It uses a paddle style. It pushes down. There is one on each side of the trigger guard. So instead of a button, you have a little lever that you flip down. And since I cannot reach most magazine releases with my thumb without adjusting my grip, I can use my trigger finger to push down and without adjusting my grip. If my finger is resting on the side of the pistol, I can simply drop my finger down and hit that release. It is not difficult at all. I love it. It is different, so if you're used to the push button, you may dislike it at first. It's just because it's different. Practice with it and try it out and actually give it a little bit of practice and some time. You'll probably come to love it because of how quick and easy that is. And if you wanted to, you can still use your thumb and reach around and hit with your thumb. I like it so much that the PPQ will be my next purchase, and I am getting the version with the paddle release. It's harder to get, but I'm going to find it, and that's the version I'm getting. The XD pistols had a similar kind of concept. Instead of having the paddles, they had push button, traditional push button style magazine release, but it existed on both sides of the pistol at the same time. You didn't have to swap it, and you could push it either direction to release your magazine. And I did the same thing, except I would just use my trigger finger to push the button. But because it was a button, it was farther back onto the frame. I had to pull my finger back farther. And because this is near the trigger guard, I don't have to pull my finger as far back. It's much more comfortable. So, like I said, it's a excellent feature. And I wish Walther hadn't caved and offered the other version at all, because it's just nice. So that's the basic things around it. Now we'll come to the part of the ergonomics of fitting it to your hand. All of these models offer a way to fit the pistol to different size hands. The Glock Gen 3 did not, but when they introduced the Gen 4, they introduced a backstrap system. Without a backstrap installed, the grip is shorter front to rear, and therefore the trigger reach is shorter than the Gen 3 was. It's also got a bit more of a vertical angle than the Gen 3 Glocks. So if you don't like the Gen 3 grip angle, which is a sticking point for a lot of people, they tend to find that they want to point high with the Glock. This brings it down a little bit. It doesn't bring it down completely, but it does bring it out a little bit. And I found that even though the grip angle is a little bit, requires you to break your wrist over a little bit more, I think that actually helps with the firearm handling when you're actually shooting it. So it's, after you get used to it, it's not bad. And the Gen 4 definitely is easier to get used to than the Gen 3s. The backstrap system, the medium backstrap makes it more akin to a Gen 3 Glock, and they have a large backstrap that is a little longer. And they also have the backstraps options that increase the length of the beaver tail. If you have to get a newer one though, the first few years of the Gen 4 up until like just last year, I believe, didn't have the option for a beaver tail extension directly from Glock. Now they've included that option. They've put a little nub on the back of the pistol that the beaver tail can snap onto. So keep that in mind. To change these the backstraps out, you have to push there's a little pin right here that you have to push out, and then you can slide the backstrap on and then replace the pin with a slightly longer version that comes with the kit in the box, and will hold it in place. It's not difficult to do, but you do need a little a tool or some of a little punch to push it out with. You shouldn't need a hammer to knock it out with. It should just push out by hand. It might take a little bit of push, but it will usually come out by hand. There are non-Glock options for beaver tails if you so wish. Me being that I prefer the no backstrap, I don't add them to it because it's basically almost like putting the backstrap on, which defeated the whole Gen 4 feel. But that option is available for you. Now, the M&P. The M&P, as you can see, this one that I've got a flat dark earth backstrap on it, includes some of the side of the pistol, which means it increases between the small to the large, the palm swell, the part that fits against the inside of your palm, will increase as well to give more of a full grip. So that's nice. It's a bit of improvement over the Glock style, in which the sides are going to be flat no matter what. It does increase the back side strap area, and the way it feels, but not the grip area so much. This does that, and it's a toolless. The bottom of the pistol, this little part right here at the back of the magazine well, turns 1/4 turn, and then it will pull straight out. It's basically just a polymer piece with a metal rod that extends about this far, and it holds the backstrap in place. And because of it being that simple, you can take the backstraps with you to the range. You can try each in turn very quickly and figure out which you prefer. You can do such a thing with the Glock, but it does require a little bit more effort due to needing a punch. And so that is a big plus, being toolless, especially if you have two people shooting and one person is small-handed and one person is large-handed. If you were so inclined, you could take both of the large and the small back straps with you to the range, and both people could enjoy a comfortable shoot. Onto the 320. 320 is different. The 320 has that modular design thing going for it, where the internal frame inside of the polymer grip is a separate piece that can be removed, which allows you to replace the entire grip and even the barrel and slide, so you can get shorter slides and shorter grips and things like that to convert to say a full size down to a subcompact, but keep your same serial number. I don't really find that big of a feature, but if you live in a place where getting new firearms is a bit of a hassle, that can ease your burden. You can have multiple configurations with only one set of paperwork. And if you live outside the United States, some countries have purchase limits, so that would allow you to get multiple configurations with only one purchase. But because of that, you do not have back straps or anything to replace. If you want to change the size of the grip, it comes with medium in the box. But if you want small or large, you have to get a hold of Sig and buy a new grip in the size you want. And they're not cheap. They're about $40 to $50. The price may go down in the future when supply picks up, but right now they are 40 to 50 bucks. And to replace it, you have to field strip the pistol completely, and then you have to remove the internal frame from the grip frame and remove the magazine release so you can put it in the new grip. It is not a quick job. It's not a difficult job, but it's not a quick job. So that is the downside, the price and the fact that it's a little more involved to do. But one of the things that it might be better, because the entire frame is getting changed, they can adjust the entire grip dimension everywhere. They can adjust all the angles, all the feel, the beaver tail, everything can be adjusted. So it may end up being more comfortable to go, if you need a small or if you need a large, it may be more comfortable on the Sig when you do than with the other options, simply because the entire frame will be different for a more uniform and even feel of everything. But when we go to the VP9, out of the box has the most options. You've got replaceable back straps, but the side is a panel that comes out as well, one on each side of the gun. You get 3 back straps and 3 sets of side plates, and you can mix and match in any configuration you want. You can use a small side plate on the left side, a medium on the right side, and a small back strap, or a medium back strap, or large, though the large is sufficiently large enough that it might cause some gaps between parts and be not as comfortable as it could be, but it's doable and the options are there. That's a lot of different configuration options. I actually found that the small on one side and the medium on the other side is actually kind of comfortable, but really it wasn't much different to just keep the medium on both sides for me. So, because mostly it's just my fingers over here, this little extra swell didn't matter. So, I mean, it's there. That option is available if you have longer fingers and you would prefer flatter, But it's not a quick job. It's not difficult, and it's not terribly slow. You do have to drift out a pin, and this one is stiffer and requires some kind of tool to give you a good little knock. So the range you go to may not like it. Most, I would think, wouldn't have a problem, especially if you let them know what you're doing. But some may have issues with you doing anything like that to your gun at the firing line. So you need to check on that. But it's a very nice system. So that will conclude the first part of the video, and look forward to seeing you in part 2.